Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As our most viewers knows that past 20 days, there's a lot of going on in Middle East, and especially in Iran, American and Israeli invasion. Everything else is probably more than 20 days now. To understand the real situation, what's going on in Iran itself, I'm here joined by my brother from all the way from Tehran, Raza John Videdi. Raza is an academic professor and also he worked with the filmmaking industry, is an award winner. I'm thankful to Raza, brother. Uh, Thank you for joining me. Brother Raza, can you tell me what's going on currently in Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran, and how is the morale of the people of Iran?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you for the invite. Yes, so um, the war that was imposed by the United States and Israel on Iran began on the 28th of February this year. So just in as Ramadan, we were a few days into Ramadan. The United States decided to attack Iran infrastructure and kill and martyr Iranian leaders such as Ayatollah Khamenei, some of the commanders and the politicians, along with, if you remember, 165 young girls from primary school in Minab in the south of Iran. And this war has been 47 years in the coming, in the sense that ever since the Islamic Revolution by Imam Khomeini, the United States has become unhappy with the fact that Iran, a country of 90 million people, have decided to stand up against the American empire. When I say American empire, this includes the Israeli colony, this includes the Europeans, the Western Europeans specifically, and any other country that aligns itself with American foreign policy and American subjugation of other countries. And I think your audiences, being from India, have a long history of resistance against empire. For many years, India was colonized by the British, and the wealth of the Indian people, their lands, and their resources were taken by the Western, especially the English, the British, looted, and made the Indian people suffer with famine and so forth. So the Iranians were having this problem in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, and even longer, and they had had enough, so the revolution happened. And so America has, over many years, with sanctions, assassinations, pressures, tried to put the Iranian nation, Iranian leadership, and Iranian people in a position where they accept the orders and the dictate of the American empire. Unfortunately for them, the Iranians, with the leadership of Imam Khomeini for 9 years, and then from 1989, the leadership of Ayatollah Khamenei, Shahid Ayatollah Khamenei, they resisted this dictate, and they never kneeled in front of the enemy. And so Ayatollah Khamenei prepared the country with other great minds of Iranians for a final battle that they believed would take place, which is now taking place. And that's the war that we are in right now. This is the final war for between the United States Empire and Iran and whoever supports Iran. Because we know some groups and some countries, for example, Yemen and in Iraq and in Lebanon, these are groups that are supporting the resistance against the British Empire. And the funny thing is, these groups of people and Iran resisting the US empire is actually in the benefit of the whole of Asia, the whole of Africa, and the whole of South America. And we'll get to this and we'll discuss more. At the moment, currently the Iranian citizens are in very good mood in the sense that they have realized that for many years, Ayatollah Khamenei would say to them, you cannot do a deal with the United States. The United States cannot be trusted. So on many occasions, if you remember, there was the JCPOA, the nuclear deal from 2015, which the US and the Europeans betrayed the Iranians. And then again in June last year, Iran was negotiating with the United States. And then again, a battle. They attacked Iran for 12 days and bombed infrastructure and killed leadership and commanders and citizens. And they demonstrated again they can't be trusted. And again in February, and end of February, if you remember, it was during negotiations mediated by the Omani foreign minister that they attacked Iran again. So now the Iranian people have realized what Ayatollah Khamenei was saying for 37 years, that the United States is a country that cannot be trusted. It only looks after itself. And specifically, this president, Donald Trump, is a unreliable partner, and that have come to that conclusion. So that's why you see every single night for 3 weeks now, and this is unprecedented in the history of any country, there's war going on, there's bombs falling from the sky, killing people, and you have hundreds of thousands of people to millions of people in Iran, in different cities across Iran, every night coming out and showing their support for the constitution, the government, and the leadership. And they're waving Iranian flags and chanting Iranian slogans. So I think the West has been woken up to a shock. They thought that with a few days of bombing, the Iranian state will collapse. They can send in their mercenaries and take over the country. However, they've just realized that no, the Iranian nation is behind their government and their leadership, and they're willing to fight until the end.
Dr. Raza, obviously the current situation is not going very well, specifically humanitarian issues. As you mentioned, there is a very famous uh, Minab incident which killed more than 170 or almost 200 students. Some says 167, but we don't know exact numbers. However, you probably know better than me. Um, what is the people thinking at this moment in time? Obviously, the American and allies, they was thinking the people gonna come out and they're gonna start uprising against the Iranian government, and the Iran will fall, and everything else. Beyond that, can you also? This is a real question. As you very well keeping close eye on current situation and also in South Asian politics as well. We, the people of Jammu Kashmir, and especially Kashmiri people, we have very famously we've been told that this is Kashmir is the Iran is Sagir, Iran Kabir is Iran itself. We have very much affiliation with Iran itself. I mean, 700-800 years ago, the great civilization which is we have in Kashmir at the moment came from Iran. The Farsi language was been in our official language for many centuries, and everything else. We have a very much embedded Irani culture in our daily life as well, and especially Kashmir Valley. If you look at, people are worried about the current situation. Um, but more importantly, can you tell me in the future, if they continue bombardment and everything else, what will be the future map look like, or future picture look like, which people are rightly worried about?
It's a very good question. Obviously, we can only discuss possibilities because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what will happen in the future exactly. Everything is in the hands of Allah. But what we can think about, in the sense that you're absolutely right, Iran has a very close cultural, religious, and historical ties to the whole of the Indian subcontinent, especially to the north of India, all the way from Iran through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and north of India, including Kashmir and all of these regions. Because for many years, there was the trade between the Persian Empire and these great civilizations. There was the exchange of knowledge, exchange of scholars. Ayatollah Imam Khomeini, his grandfather was Ayatollah Musavi Hindi. So he came from India, went to Najaf, and then came to Iran, and then became the great leader. So Iran has, for hundreds of thousands, if not thousands of years, even before Islam, had very close relationship with Indian societies in Indian continent. So this is the aspect of the great relationship that we had, and it's unfortunate that the Indian
Dr. Reza,
government.
do apologize to interrupt you. Also, I remember reading the Imam Khomeini, one of his interview, where some journalist was asking Imam that if the French government take you out from the country, where would you go? Imam replied, I will go Kashmir, where my parents came from, my great parents came from. Is that true?
I haven't heard this, but I wouldn't be surprised. And the reason being is at that time, if you remember, India was more in the middle of the politics of the world. Unlike now, where unfortunately the Indian government has decided to take the country towards the right direction of Zionism, Israel, and America, back then India was seen as a country that was in the middle. It was not aligned with the West. It was an independent country. And as we said, Ayatollah Khamenei's grandfather was Musavi Hindi, Hindi being he was from the land of India. So yes, it would have been possible. And Ayatollah Khamenei in the early 80s did actually go to Kashmir. He had a very good relationship with that part of the world and in Pakistan and with the Muslims in India. And he prayed with the Muslims there. He prayed even behind Sunni scholars. And he demonstrated that the unity can exist between Shias and Sunnis. And if the Ummah of the Muslim come together, no power in the world of the Western Empire could challenge it. But unfortunately, we have leaders in different parts of the world who don't subscribe to this ideology and have allowed our countries to be divided, even though our people, our hearts are one. If you look, as you see that in Pakistan and India, so many people protested against the martyrdom and killing of Ayatollah Khamenei, and even they gave their life in front of the U.S. embassy. So the love there in the Pakistani and the Indian community in Kashmir and all of these parts of the world is great for each other. So then we fast forward to the war at the moment currently. As I said, Iran for 47 years has prepared for such a great battle, such a great war. And at the moment, even though the United States and Israel is bombing constantly Iran, different cities, they are bombing the infrastructure which is accessible in the sense that the electricity, gas, so forth. They're bombing residents and leaders. They have not been able to destroy Iran's defense industry. So the industry that creates new missiles and new drones, they haven't managed to destroy that. So that is continuing. As we discuss right now, as we talk right now, as the battles take place, new missiles and drones are being created. And recently, Iran declared that they have prepared for 8 to 10 years of war. Now, let's put this into context. The United States' longest war that it ever participated in, full-blown war, was with the Vietnamese, and they lost that battle. The other battle that they tried to, for 20 years, tried to occupy Afghanistan, 20 years, they lost that battle. Even though Afghanistan didn't have the missile capability, the drone capability, and other capabilities that Iranians have. So we know that Iran has demonstrated that the United States is weaker than it demonstrated itself to be. That has demonstrated that the Israelis are weaker than they actually claim to be, and their capabilities are less. And Iran's capabilities are far higher. Also bear in mind that Iran has not used all of its high-tech technology yet. It's still using older generation missiles, older generation drones, and other capabilities that is attacking Israel and America. So the people of Iran, and if you look at all the videos currently coming out, and if you have people in Iran who speak to the citizens, majority of the citizens support the leadership and support the military, and they want the military to continue to fight until the United States and Israel kneels. They say that we don't want the military to stop. We know there's bombs. We know that there's impacts the economy and people are being martyred and killed. However, we don't want our leadership and our military to stop fighting. So the fact that the Iranian leadership and the military have the support of the population, this is the biggest blessing that the Iranian military has, because it knows at home it's secure. It's fighting for a cause. It's fighting for its people. And its people are accepting to take the sacrifices and take the pain and the suffering, as long as it gets to the result, which is to defeat the United States. So I don't think, and you look at the news right now, Mr. Trump, he has approached all of his allies, from the NATO allies in Europe to Australia to Japan to Korea to all of these countries, and he's demanded them to come and help to unblock the Strait of Hormuz, where all the oil and resources come. Every single one of them have said, it's not our war, we don't want to get involved. So this demonstrates that the United States is becoming alone in the world right now. No country, even though all of these countries, they support the idea of American empire, and they are anti-Iran, and they've demonstrated they're anti-Iran. For example, the German chancellor said that international law does not apply to Iran. So if the United States bombs, or Israel bombs Iran for no reason and kills Iranians, it's fine, it's no problem. There will be no problems for us in that sense. However, none of them are willing to send any ships to the region. Why? Because they fear the Iranian capabilities. Because they know if any of their ships come to the Persian Gulf, to the Strait of Hormuz, or even close to the Gulf of Oman, they will be hit by missiles, they'll be hit by drones, and their ships will be damaged, and possibly their sailors will be killed. So no one is risking that. To the point where we have now the Iranian parliament is drawing up a law that states that any ship that wants to pass through the Strait of Hormuz must pay a tax to the Iranian government, because they're saying for 47 years we secured the safety of this region, of the Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf. However, we will only impose sanctions on us and problems and difficulties. Now is the time that you must pay tax every time you want to use this strait. So I think my advice would be to your viewers that they should have hope. And one thing Ayatollah Khamenei and Imam Khomeini taught the Iranian nation and the whole world is that if the whole world gathers together and you're on your own, but you truly on the side of Allah and you believe in the power of Allah, Allah will send ways that He will assist you. So this is the belief that the Iranians have, and everyone who supports Iran from India and Pakistan and Iraq, people have this faith, people have this hope. And so I'm more positive than I would say negative. Yes, when we see, for example, Dr. Ali Ralijani or our leaders are killed, this breaks our heart, this upsets us. Because when someone loses a loved one, it's painful. However, we know that they attained something that they were looking for 47 years, martyrdom. So we should be proud of them. Yes, we'll be upset, we will mourn them, but we're proud that they have been able to achieve this blessing from Allah. And so this will give us hope that if when he goes, someone else comes in his place who has the same strong ideology. This shows that you can't defeat 92 million people so easily. So we should always have hope.
Dr. Raza, my next question, obviously, it is regarding other Arab nations or Arab countries being attacked by Iran. We understand there is a reason, and the reason is there is an American bases there. However, from your perspective, how would you elaborate this situation? Obviously, this is keep pondering on social media and the Western media as well.
So Iran has had a relationship with all of its neighbors, in the sense that its policy has been, the foreign policy has been to, if you look at Iranian history, Iran has not invaded or attacked another country for about 150 years. For 150 years, even before the Islamic Revolution, Iran never instigated any war. Yes, in the 80s, it defended itself against the Iraqi and Saddam's army, but it never began a war and it never invaded another country. And for many years, for 30, 40, 50 years, Iran has always asked the Persian Gulf countries, the Arabs, Iraq, and all the other countries to have good relationships with Iran. They always provided plans and mechanisms where they said, look, let's look after the security and the safety of the Persian Gulf and the region ourselves. There's no need to have an American base here. However, what the Arab countries, because of their leadership's relationship with the United States and their Western empire, A lot of them are educated in Sandhurst. Sandhurst is a military cottage in the military college in the UK, where it educates their elites to be in the military and so forth. This is where the Persian Gulf Arab countries send their sons to be trained to become leaders in their countries. So they have very strong relationship with the UK and the West. The money that they generate from the oil is funneled back into the West. You look at their investment portfolio, a lot of it goes back into American military hardware that they buy for their countries. A lot of it goes back into properties in Europe and specifically UK. For example, the famous building Shard in the UK, this is Qatari owned. It was funded by the Qataris. A lot of places in Manchester, so forth and so on. And the company, high-tech companies,
Even Harrods itself obviously
Harrods was
belonged
bought
to
by
Qatar.
Qatar. Exactly. Yes. For 1.4 million or 5 million pounds. A lot of the, for example, tech companies like Alphabet, like OpenAI, and all of the Meta, Facebook, all of these companies have had billions of dollars of investment, or even recently have had investments from the Persian Gulf countries. So what they're doing is they're taking the wealth of their own citizens and investing it back into the West. So there's this very what's it called, unhealthy relationship between these leaders and the West. And a lot of these countries, because there's no democracy, the people don't have a right to vote for their leaders. The leaders are dictatorial, authoritarian kings who control without any kind of support from the population. Look to the West for the security of their kingdomship. They don't rely on their own people. Iran relies on its citizens for its authority. It doesn't rely on anyone from outside. The president is elected, the majlis or the parliament is elected, even the supreme leader, the leader of the Islamic Revolution, he's elected by a council, and all those members of the council are elected by the public. So the public participate in the progress. There's sometimes disagreements with policies and economic issues and so forth. That's normal. Every country has that. However, these countries have nothing like that. The king comes in, then his son or his nephew or his uncle does a coup, takes over, and looks to America and says, "Do you give me support?" They say, "We give you support, take over as long as you continue our foreign policy." So this is the relationship with these countries. However, even then, Iran has always said, "Don't let American bases come. We will work together as brothers, Muslims, to keep security of the Persian Gulf." And even during President Rouhani's administration, there was the idea of a campaign of a scheme called HOPE, Hormuz Peace Initiative, where the Iranians and these Arab countries will maintain the security of the country, just not allowing US bases. So, okay, we fast forward to 2026, February. These Arab countries are saying that we won't allow any attack on Iran from our bases. But what happens is all the attacks that take place are from their countries. That's fine. If the base is in your country and you've allowed it to take place, you're partly responsible. And if you remember in the 1980s, with the war with Iraq, it was these Arab countries, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, and these countries that were funding Saddam's military when they attacked Iran. And this is one of the reasons why he invaded Kuwait in 1990, was because he's like, I don't want to pay that debt that is owed to Kuwait. So he attacked Kuwait to take over Kuwait. So these countries for 30, 40 years have been working hard and spending billions of dollars to cause problems for Iran. Even then, Iran still wanted to have good relationship because it knew that long term, these are countries that are neighbors. We have to have good relationships. And yet in 2026, February, they attack Iran. They allow the Americans to attack Iran. And then Iran said, if you allow the Americans to attack from your base, we will hit your bases. So we will hit the American bases. So they knew this. For years, they've been warned about this. And so they attacked. Their bases were hit repeatedly because their bases were so extensive. The largest military naval fleet of the Americans is in the Bahrain, is in the Fifth Fleet is there. And one of the largest bases in the world for the US is in CENTCOM, which is in Qatar. So they're using these bases to kill Iranian citizens and Iranian leaders Which country would sit by and not would allow that to happen? No country. So then Iran had to hit these bases, and then what they would do is they would take the military personnel and the CIA and move them into hotels, so away from the bases and into hotels. And Iran had intelligence capabilities, and they hit these hotels because they had become legitimate targets. Even now, Iran says we do not want to destroy the infrastructure of our neighbors because we're looking for a day when America leaves and we live together side by side. However, what did they do? They attacked the Iranian gas facility 2 days ago. What else did they do? They attacked that oil refinery where so much oil was burnt and came out that Tehran was covered in black oil from because of rain, turning it into chemical weapons against Iranians. So, and they hit Iranian bank, killing staff members. They killed. They attacked the power facility. So Iran keeps saying, "Don't attack these facilities because we don't want to do the same." Now, if Iran was a rational player, if Iran was a crazy, madman, it would have completely destroyed all of these facilities of these countries by now. But it hasn't. It keeps trying to warn them to go, don't go to that direction. You want to attack the citizens, you want to attack the military, that's a different issue. But if you attack our infrastructure to crumble the country so the country can't exist, people are, suffering because there's no electricity or gas or water, what do you want us to do? Sit by so you can do that? We have to do the same to you. So they've been warned, but unfortunately they had a meeting, I think yesterday, Turkey, Jordan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, and a few other countries. And they came to a statement, and the statement tried to blame Iran for the attacks on these countries, but they did not mention anywhere at all the illegal and unjustifiable attack on Iran on February 28th from America and Israel. So this goes to show that in Islam we have the concept of munafiq. When the Holy Prophet lived in Medina, there was Muslims who showed themselves to be Muslim outwardly, but they were against the Prophet. They were hypocrites. They were munafiq. And this is the same situation we are now, where these countries show to be they are Muslims and supportive of other Muslims, even though they bombed Yemen and killed so many Yemenis, and they supported Israel as it bombs and kills our brothers in Gaza and Lebanon and Palestine. However, when it comes to it, they have removed the mask of hypocrisy. Now they formally showing that they're on the side of Israel and America. So they're no more munafiq or hypocrisy. Now they're outwardly showing that they're the enemy of the resistance. And ultimately, the resistance is in their favor. Let's think ahead. If the war finishes and America leaves the region, the money that they make from the sale of oil and gas and wealth that they have, and they don't need to invest it in US military, the billions that they give. And they don't need to send the money to invest it in US tech and properties in the UK that can easily be confiscated from them whenever the UK wants. And they invest it in their own countries and in other Muslim countries. If anybody wants to attack these countries, who will come to their aid and fight with them to the last breath? It will be Muslim countries. It will be Iran. It will be Iraq. Because we are Muslims, we will fight for each other. We'll give our lives for each other. But these foreign countries, who all they do is come cause division and fitna between Muslims, they're happy for us to fight and kill each other, but they would never support the Persian Gulf Arab countries. So it's in their interest that they remove the bases and work with Iran to make a safety and security pact in the region. So
Dr. Raza, thank you. My final question, if, God forbidden, Iran's current government fall and, say Badshahat or whatever we had before revolution, they will join again and they became president and prime minister and monarchies and everything. How do you see and how worried should be the people of South Asia and specifically Pakistan, Afghanistan and all these regions? How would be they worried about the current situation? I'm trying not to over exaggerating things. However, would not look like this is going to be a Tel Aviv going to be moved around in Tehran somewhere?
So I think what the Israelis would like to see, which inshallah will not happen because the Iranians will defeat them, is that the Iran becomes, because Iran is a very large country. It is the size of North West Europe. So France and Germany, UK and Spain. You can put all of these countries into Iran. It has many resources: gold, gas, the second largest gas reserves in the world. Um, and so, if the Israelis have the way, in the sense that they can be successful, just bear with me one moment. If Israelis and Americans are successful at what they want to do, what will happen is they will. My thing is frozen. Let me just fix it for you. One second, sorry. Okay. So what will happen is they would want to split Iran into multiple regions, because then it'll be easier for them to control, to extract the resources. They would want to, control the southwest, the southeast, which is closer to the Baluchistan, Pakistan area, the northwest, which is closer to Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, and north east towards Azerbaijan. Northeast towards Uzbekistan, and north west towards Azerbaijan and the Kurdish region, and have the Persian majority in the middle. This way, they can control Iran easily, take its resources, and have them infight. But the problem is, if this happens, this would encourage terrorism and rebellious governments for a very long time. There will be chaos between the borders between Iran and Afghanistan and Iran and Pakistan. And terrorism will go back into both countries. So it wouldn't be like, a group comes and takes over the area, the Baluchistan area, and there'll be no resistance. There will be terrorism for decades, if not for a century. In Azerbaijan area, many Azerbaijanis who are in Iran, they support Iran as a country. So then they will resist the Azerbaijan, which is Baku, by President Aliyev. There'll be kind of war there. The Kurdish region, most of the people in Iran who are Kurdish support Iran. So they would fight the Kurds who are trying to take the Iranian side. So all of these regions, there will be terrorism, there will be fighting, there will be wars. And it will just make Syria look like something very small compared. Because Iran's bigger, there's more weapons, there's more technology, people are more devout to the supporting of the idea of Iran. So it will be chaos everywhere. There will be bloodshed everywhere. And there won't be safety and security for the whole region, not just one part of it, but for the whole region. And this will make all the countries, every single country which is a neighbor of Iran, from Pakistan, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, Iraq, and all the Persian Gulf countries, they will suffer. Not only will Iran suffer, but they will suffer because the terrorism will go back into their countries and feed into their countries. If you think the fact that the Iranians are now controlling Strait of Hormuz is a problem, if there is the idea of America and Israel winning and destroying the government, and then it becomes chaotic, nobody will be able to control that. It will be a Wild West. It will be like one of those futuristic films like Mad Max. It will be completely, really bad situation. It's very unlikely that the Shah Hassan, Reza Pahlavi, who really hasn't been to Iran for 40 years, 47 years, sorry. He doesn't really care about Iranians. On many interviews, he has stated that most of my friends and family live in America. I would find it hard to go and live in Iran. So I'll probably go back and forth and I would use Zoom. It's like you want to be the king of a country and you want to use Zoom to control the country. What kind of king are you? And you have Iranian Ayatollah Khamenei, who gave his life for the country. He gave his daughter's life, his granddaughter's life, his daughter-in-law's life, He gave all of his family because he loves Iran. We have all of these commanders that say we rather die than one person in Iran get injured. These are the people who are defending Iran. And you, this Pahlavi guy, wants to come and the Iran and all its wealth and history to be given to him like as if it's some kind of a prize. And he doesn't want to even make an effort for the country. So does he really believe that the Iranians will support him? Of course they won't. So there's no likelihood of him ever being able to take over Iran. People will revolt against him, and there will, anyone who tries to support him, there will be war between them. But I believe the Israelis use him, and even the Americans, the CIA, use him as a tool to put pressure on the Iranian government and the Iranian people. So he has no
But
support. The only thing will be terrorism and division of the country. But even then, as I said, Iranians have become wise now. I understand what Ayatollah Khamenei was saying for 37 years. It took him some time, but they realized. So they completely support the leadership and the military. And inshallah, they won't allow that scenario that we are discussing ever to take place.
Dr. Raza, currently, obviously, since this war began, invasion began on Iran, I would like to bring your attention and, on behalf of people of Kashmir, there is a lot of protest after 5th of August 2019, since Article 370 abrogation, there was no such kind of political activity, but Srinagar and Kashmir Valley of being on standstill for 6 days, whole week. There was so many people being arrested by the Indian occupying authorities, and also there's so many injuries. People are overwhelmingly came out on street of Srinagar. They occupied the main square of Lal Chowk in Srinagar itself. Same goes with our other region of Jammu Kashmir, which is called Kargil, next to Ladakh region. As you know, there is a huge population came out for a whole week. They were mourn about the death of Imam Khamenei, and also same goes with the Gilgit Baltistan, the south region of Jammu Kashmir, which is known for its beauty as well. There was almost 16 peoples go martyred by authorities because they want to protest, peaceful protest. There was a lot of government buildings being demolished and everything because people were so angry and they want to use their right of expression, but the authority didn't allow them. I just wonder, what's the people of Iran? Does they know this is all happening in neighboring countries, neighboring region? And what is your reaction on this?
Yes, I think the Iranians, after the revolution, the concept of supporting anyone who's oppressed. And that's why they provided support to Palestinians. That's why they support the Kashmiris. The reason, so with the Palestinians, they were providing political and other means of support so that the Palestinians could defend themselves. But because Iran had, tried to have a good relationship with India and tries to have a good relationship with Pakistan, it is always try to give spiritual and kind of like brotherly support to the cause of the Kashmir, to this region that the British really. I remember Jack Straw a few years ago. He used to be the foreign minister of UK, and he admitted on TV. I saw him saying that the British have a lot to answer for because for the last 150 years, everywhere they have gone, and he mentioned Kashmir as an example, that they have caused problems that still persist after 70, 80 years of them leaving the region. So this problem of Kashmir goes back to the UK, like the problem of Palestine and other issues. So we should never forget that the British have had a hand in this. And so the Iranian government cannot interfere militarily, cannot give that kind of support, because then it sees it's interfering in the issue between Pakistan and India. However, the Iranian people have always loved India and Pakistan and Kashmir. And in many occasions, I see them showing support and having programs having workshops or in festivals, films that depict Kashmir. And it's a shame that in these many years of since the revolution, Iranians haven't been able to visit Kashmir as much, because I know that the north of Pakistan and Kashmir region, from many of my friends who are Pakistani who go to visit and come back, it's when you look at it, it looks more beautiful than the mountains and the valleys of Switzerland. Everybody knows Switzerland because through media they've seen the chalets and the green valleys and the mountains. But when you look at Kashmir, when you look at North Pakistan, it's one of the most beautiful regions in the world. And I wish that hopefully after this final battle with the Western Empire, and once they're defeated, Iran can look more to the east, to have trading partners with these regions, to have tourism with this region, and have Iranians who go to visit to build that relationship. And you said something very beautiful at the beginning of our discussion, that there's 800, hundreds of years of relationship of the Farsi language and culture between the Iran and these parts of the world. Isn't it a shame that Iran as a country, as a major country in the region, doesn't promote that culture, doesn't promote that
Dr. Raza,
relationship?
sorry to interrupt you. Even my grandfather, um, no long ago, I went back in Kashmir and I saw some family record, um, and I found one of book which my grandfather was reading in his school days, and that was a Persian language, Farsi language, because the Farsi been so many decades and so many years for our own national language of Kashmir. Um, so the Farsi language was a essential subject in our school in my granddad time. Um, Even great Iqbal, Dr. Ilham Iqbal, who himself was a Kashmiri region, same as Imam Khomeini and Khamenei. Um, he says, Gar Jannat Barue Zami Ast, Hami Asto, Hami Asto, Hami Ast. If there is a paradise in this world, that's Kashmir. We are, and we are the Kashmir. So that's how it's been interpreted by the great poet. Um, and Dr. Raza, obviously, we, the people of Jammu Kashmir, we want to preserve our own national identity, same as people of Iran, people of Pakistan, and India. We obviously don't want war, we want peace between the region. But as you very well described, the Kashmir issue is a legacy of British imperialism since 1947, and they left it with a mess and everything. Uh, Obviously, that's their responsibility as well, that to help and resolve this issue according to people' will and aspiration. Um, we, the Jammu Kashmir TV, we are a small web-based channel, and we want our voices to be heard to the world and to show that we are still being ignored and left by the world. However, the current situation in Middle East draw very much our attention to the region and the suffering of people of Iran currently since 1979 under the heavy restrictions, basic facilities not being able to provide. But all of that, beside one side, we understand another thing, which is the self-sufficient of the people of Iran, the people of Iran's great istiqamat, which call, and rely on themselves and rely on God Almighty. This gave us a lot of lesson, and this gave us a lot of encouragement. Um, I wonder what's your message to people of Jammu Kashmir and specifically the people who are protesting for the cause of Iran in Kargil, in Gilgit, and in Srinagar.
Um, I would say that the the self-reliance that you mentioned by Iran came from the Imam Khomeini, who taught us that you must believe in your own capabilities, and you must start with that belief with the belief in Allah and Allah's power and reliance on Allah, and go forward. And this is the message that Ayatollah Khamenei, Shahid Ayatollah Khamenei, continued with as the leader of the revolution afterwards. And this demonstrates that these two leaders and the idea of self-reliance and on the reliance of Allah as the greatest power has infused all of the institutions of the country. And that's why, even though they martyred our greatest leader, the leader who's the leader of the country spiritually and politically, and the head of the military, Iran did not collapse. Because what Ayatollah Khamenei taught to the Iranians is that you must have institutions. You must rely on Allah and yourself to build resilience. So in case that if I as an individual are killed or pass away, what I have begun to build does not crumble. It does not rely on one person. You have to learn to build institutions so that these institutions continue to do the hard work of resistance. And the people of Kashmir and all those who are resisting, I would say, as you said, is first believe in Allah. All power is from Him. And everything we do is to make Him, please Him. And the second is to rely on the capabilities of the youth. Sometimes when we get older, we think we know better than the youth. In some cases we do. But in a lot of cases, if we want the youth to become part of the mission that we want them to be part of, if we want them to continue what we have begun, is we have to empower them. We have to give them the capability to sometimes maybe make mistakes, but to learn from those mistakes and become strong in what they're doing. And this requires us to trust them. So I think the older generation of Kashmir and working with the younger generation, because the youth have energy, the youth have ideas, and the youth have bravery. Sometimes when we become older, we're like, let's play it safe, because safe is better than, sorry, making a mistake to be sorry. But the youth is like, no, until, we try this, maybe. So the combination of youth and the wisdom of the older generation can make Kashmir, why can it not make Kashmir a powerful country? Why can I not give the people of Kashmir what they want, which is if it's independence and they want that, and this is something they want to work towards, why not? And even once they have independence, why can they not use the resources of their countries, being the people and the land and its position, to build a country that is so beneficial for its people that live there? Why can this not happen? Of course this can happen. And hopefully maybe after the victory of Iran, this will give a boost to the people of Kashmir and other people who are fighting against oppression, to say if Iranians can do it, then we can do it as well.
Brother Raza, obviously this is a great honor and pleasure for me and my institution, Jammu Kashmir TV, to have you in my show. In coming days, we will have more students, more scholars from Tehran joining our show, talking about the resistance of people of great people of Iran. Until what we would like to say is a solidarity from the people of Kashmir to the people of Iran. Inshallah, the resistance will become successful, and may Allah give you istiqamat to the people of Iran, our brother and sister of Iran. Thank you very much for joining my show. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you for inviting me. God bless you.